What's up everyone, Alex Comstock here with WhitetailDNA, and today is January 26th, and today I'm out actually moving a couple trail cameras, actually trying to relocate my top buck here as he kind of disappeared here over the last few weeks, and some deer stuff's changing with just food sources changing in the middle of the winter and everything. So that's what I'm out doing today. But as I'm out here doing this today, I wanted to talk about top 10 deer hunting mistakes that people make all the time. These are mistakes that I've made countless times, and mistakes that really the more you can avoid, the better deer hunter you're going to become. So that's what we're going to cover in today's video. Alright, well, as you can see here, I got a trail camera behind me that I'm going to be moving, and that's the first thing that I want to touch on with these top deer hunting mistakes is talk about a couple of things with trail cameras. And the first one that I want to talk about is checking trail cameras too often. Now, people love trail cameras for a variety of reasons. I love trail cameras, but the more that you check them, the more pressure you're gonna be putting on your property, the more scent you're leaving behind, especially during the season and the summer. You do not need to be checking your trail cameras every week, every couple weeks. It's just simply not necessary. I mean, especially when it comes to fall, I'm typically only checking cameras when I'm going out to hunt. And then with that, cell cams are much more, they've come down in price. Cell cams are much easier to get at a less expensive price. I'm moving this cell cam right here. If you can get a couple of cell cams, that can really just make a game changer as far as not having to check cameras, not having to go on your properties as much, and being able to get all the information in real time. So that's the first deer hunting mistake that I want to cover, is checking trail cameras too much. And then another trail camera topic that I want to cover with this is simply relying too much on your trail cameras, right? Because trail cameras are great, you love the information that they give you, but let's say a buck isn't showing up on camera, you might not hunt that spot, whereas he just might not be on camera, but he's still in that area. So that's kind of a fine line, because some cameras are going to give you more information than others. But realistically, trail cameras are only giving you a little sliver of information. They're giving you a little window into what's going on out here in the woods. And you can't just rely on trail cameras. They got to be an added tool to your arsenal, and it can't be the only thing you rely on. So those are the first, can't only show two, but those are the first two tips I want to cover, or I guess the first two deer hunting mistakes I want to cover. And we're gonna jump in here to the next one. All right, as we move into tip number 3, or I guess the third top deer hunting mistake that people make, that's going to be just not scouting enough. A lot of deer hunters love deer season for obvious reasons, but what they neglect is scouting in the off season, or even during the season for that matter. Scouting is just super important. You really need to stay up to date with what's going on in the woods, how that can make you a better hunter. And even today is a great example, as I'm out here moving cameras around trying to find this buck. I'm scouting, I'm walking around. You can see here, I'm looking, got beds. I'm in a definite bedding area right here. So I'm gonna probably move one of these cameras to right up here. And you can see I got a climbing stick on my back. I'm gonna get this baby up high. I've had some people steal it, or I've had people steal trail cameras in this area here this year. So, but yeah, scouting, it's important. Make sure you're doing it. Do not neglect it, because it's only going to make you a better deer hunter, and it's a definite mistake by not scouting and not putting the proper time in to scout as much as you should. All right, deer hunting mistake number 4 that I want to cover is hunting the same stand over and over and over again. Usually this is a product of, you shot a big buck out of a tree stand once, and you hunt it again and 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 again. Well, I have found that the best way to find success is to be able to be mobile. You might find a stand that's good, and you might want to hunt it more than once or a few times, but it doesn't mean you hunt it till it just can't be hunted anymore. Be able to be mobile, be able to switch it up, be able to hunt fresh sign. Don't just go back to that one stand over and over all season, because you could be missing out on so many opportunities. So it's definitely something that I want to touch on, and definitely a deer hunting mistake that I see a lot of people make. All right, deer hunting mistake number 5 that I want to cover is thinking that products, scent eliminating products, can just make you not think about hunting the wind. I don't care what you use. I think you can definitely cut down on your scent, but I think no matter what, you always need to be playing the wind. And in order to beat a mature whitetail's nose, you gotta be playing the wind. Simple as that. Even if you do use products such as scent killer or nose jammer, you know, stuff like that, which I use. But I can't tell you the amount of times where I've been using a product like that and I thought, you know, I knew it was gonna be a bad wind, but I was like, I'll load up on it, I'll be okay, and end up getting busted anyway. So that's definitely something you need to be thinking about. No matter what, you need to play the wind. I don't care what you're using. Like I said, you can cut down on your scent, but you're not gonna get rid of it all. And it definitely something you definitely need to think about, and is a mistake I see so many people make. So make sure you are using, make sure you are playing the wind, even if you are using products like that. And after that, we got 5 more tips to cover, or 5 more mistakes I should say, that deer hunters make, and we're gonna finish those in my office as I'm wrapping up here in the woods and gonna be home soon. All right, well, I just got back to the office here, and we're gonna finish going over these top deer hunting mistakes that people like to make. So we're on tip number 6 right now. And the 6th thing that I want to go over, that mistake that a lot of people make, is jumping into a track job way too quick. When you shoot a deer, you know, you need to be able to, first of all, when you shoot that deer, you know, you got to be really paying attention to everything. You know, once that arrow or that gun goes off, you know, pay attention to their body language, how everything, you know, the reaction, listen, see if you can hear them crash, all that good stuff. But let's assume you shoot a deer, you don't hear it crash. You know, first thing you want to do is get down, check out that site of impact, and that's it. You know, really assess that, and more often than not, if you're not exactly sure, back out and give it time. You know, if you bump that deer once, I mean, you could have a track job where, let's say you gut shot or liver shot a deer, you know, and you back out right off the bat, you give it 6-7 hours, you go back in, that deer could be dead in its first or second bed. But if you just go right ahead and start tracking and jump that deer, now what could have turned into a, you know, what could have been a simple track job is now going to be turning into just probably a nightmare. So don't jump into track jobs too quick. Always play it safe, and that's only going to lead you to more success. Definitely a mistake a lot of people make, definitely one that I've made before, and definitely one that I've learned from, so hopefully that you can avoid making that mistake. All right, the 7th deer hunting mistake that I want to go over, kind of, actually this one I should have talked about earlier. It kind of falls in line with the mistake of hunting the same stand over and over again. But we're going to talk a couple different things with this one. But this mistake is just not being aggressive enough. You know, we can maybe talk about complacency here. You know, as a deer hunter, if you're getting maybe trail camera pictures of a buck in a certain spot, but you're not seeing them, you just keep hunting the same area even. You know, being aggressive, I've learned over the last couple of years especially, that being aggressive can really help you you know, be more successful, really. And a good example this year actually isn't from me, but is from, you know, our team member Garrett, who this year during his rut hunting trip out in North Dakota, you know, he was the epitome of aggressive. He was doing hanging hunts almost every sit, bouncing around, trying to get on the hot sign, and it led him into a spot where, you know, at midday he was seeing bucks everywhere and was able to arrow his first North Dakota buck. And that came from being aggressive. You know, he could have easily went into a spot, even done one hanging hunt, and thought it was good enough, and then, you know, just sat there and then maybe teetered around, maybe going to another spot. But he just kept the pedal to the metal, was aggressive, bouncing around, hunting that hot sign, and it led him to a beautiful buck. And that's just a testament to being aggressive and how being aggressive can really help you. And if you're not ever going to be aggressive, I feel like that's just a big mistake and one you could avoid. The next deer hunting mistake I want to touch on is forgetting about entrance and exit routes. You know, you might find a great stand location, a great spot that you think could be just a killer spot to shoot a big buck or to shoot a mature buck or whatever. But you need to remember your entrance and exit routes. You know, oftentimes talking with even friends, buddies, seeing it with other people, you know, if you're going in and out and blowing a bunch of crap out every time you go in and out of a stand, that's going to kill your spot. So if you find a great spot, you know, you need to come up with your best entrance and exit. You know, if it, you know, I've got a couple stands, you know, right here that I think about even this year that, you know, if I'm hunting in the morning, I'm accessing it in a completely different way than if I'm hunting it in the afternoon. Because there are areas where, you know, you think deer are going to, you know, where they bed, where they feed, where they are in between. If you're, if I'm going to a couple of spots, for a morning hunt, I think, deer are going to be out hopefully feeding still. So I'm slipping in maybe the back door and then going out the way I would access that stand in the morning, if that makes any sense. Same thing if you're going into the afternoon. You got to assume that deer are going to be bedded. So you want to come in from maybe where the way they're going to go. You don't want to be blowing right through their bedding area. And, if you're coming in the morning, you don't want to be blowing through their food sources. So just having that acumen of trying to really figure out where deer are going to be in the mornings and the afternoons and understanding that and picking your entrance and exit, thinking of that, thinking of wind direction, all that good stuff. If you neglect your entrance and exit routes, you're not going to have as much success, and it's a big mistake. So we're down to our last two top deer hunting mistakes here that I feel like people commit a lot. This next one is, it's an interesting one, but it's not giving a new spot enough time. And that's kind of like, going with your gut, where if you feel, there's been a lot of times where I've hung a new stand in a spot where the sign's there, everything's there, everything adds up, and you're like, this is the spot. You hunt it one night, maybe you hunt it 2 nights, and you don't see crap. And all of a sudden you pull it out, maybe you'd left a camera there, and all of a sudden big boy shows up on camera or whatever. It's just giving that spot enough time to really be able to write it off. So, and if maybe you don't, this really only applies if you really feel you're hanging a spot or hanging a stand in a good spot and it doesn't pan out right away. You might be thinking I'm kind of contradicting myself from an earlier mistake where I said people like to hunt the same stand over and over again. This is different. This is giving it more than 1 or 2 sits to understand exactly if it could be, you might hunt it twice in terrible conditions. There's been plenty of stands where, actually one of our favorite stands this year, there's a lot of sits where you don't see anything. But in that whole area, when the conditions are right, it can be dynamite. And if I would have only hunted it twice and not hunted again, I'd have been losing out on a great spot. So it's definitely a mistake that I feel like people make. And I feel like, just give a spot enough time if you think it's good before you just completely write it off. And then the last deer hunting mistake that I want to talk about, and this is one that I've definitely committed many times, is moving too much in the stand. So think about this. Like, there's been plenty of examples in my lifetime deer hunting where I see a deer, I make a small movement, it picks me off, and it's 60, 70 yards through the timber. I have no idea how it happens, but think about how many deer then, if you're up in that stand just moving all over the place when you're not seeing deer, could pick you off, and just, they might not even blow or do anything, but they just might not come your way, and you never even saw them. So, you definitely want to keep that movement in the tree stand to as little as possible. Obviously, it's not possible to just sit completely still the whole time. I get that. But try to just really pare down that movement. Try to have as much cover in your tree stand as possible. I'm a big proponent of cover. And, just really try to just not move as much as you might normally. I think cutting that movement down is definitely going to help you, and I think it's a big mistake that people make is they like to move a ton in the tree stand. So those are my 10 top deer hunting mistakes. Those are in no particular order or anything. Just 10 mistakes that I feel a lot of people make and that I've made plenty of times in my lifetime hunting, but that I feel like you can learn from, and hopefully you can avoid committing those mistakes in the upcoming years, this upcoming fall, and it'll help you with more success. So I appreciate you watching. If you do me a huge favor and hit that like and subscribe button down low. We got more weekly videos coming out through the entire off season, and I appreciate you watching. We'll see you here on the next one.